Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Commerce IQ live stream. I'm Commerce IQ's head of industry insights, Timothy Campbell. Today we have another, 10, 15-minute topic for you to cover, and that is the state of the online consumer. A few facts and a few trends that really typify shoppers who shop online and how just general shoppers also shop online. That we have for you today, and it goes over a few reports taken from third-party sources. And covers a few different, not necessarily just one area, but a few different topical areas pertaining to online shoppers. So let's dive into it. First off, I want to say that the dominant narrative around e-commerce during COVID is that you saw a huge leap forward in e-commerce sales, by 5 years, kind of all combined into 1 year. And then you had this pullback that wasn't entirely anticipated, right? Where a lot of shoppers were not shopping as much online as they had the previous year, especially this past year in 2022. The one category where that's an exception is really online grocery. Online grocery shopping has not pulled back this past year nearly as much as other categories. And this data is taken from Acosta's online grocery landscape report, specifically its infographic. And 50% of grocery shoppers buy groceries online at least occasionally. And again, that is consistent with what was observed last year. So did not undergo that same sort of decline as happened last year. And 1/5 of online grocery shoppers do all or most of their grocery shopping online, with the same amount intending to do more so over the next year. So overall, very strong considering the low online grocery shopper penetration you had, just several years prior to now. It's not going away. It is basically here to stay. And online grocery is increasingly a large fixture of the e-commerce landscape. The whole broader narrative around the e-commerce pullback, that does not really apply to grocery. The other thing to consider here is that the rise of online grocery has really led to an omni-channel shopping experience when it comes to food. So, as we'll see in a little bit, one of the recent, one of the platforms that has really been on the rise is buy online, pick up in store, and that's very convenient. Yes, it's typically an online platform, but very convenient for shoppers who maybe want to take advantage of lower in-store pricing. And as well as the potentially the convenience of having it just a couple hours after you order it without having to deal with any delivery fees. 7 in 10 shoppers, online pickup shoppers, go into the store at least occasionally when getting an order. So for these sorts of shoppers, it's really an omni-channel experience. You're ordering stuff online, but then you're also going in store because you forgot stuff, or you happen to remember something on the way. That really is the number one reason why shoppers go into the store. And you can see that on the right-hand side here, right? And there are a few items, like when you consider fresh, especially, shoppers might not necessarily trust people picking their groceries. If you're picking canned goods, it doesn't matter that much. But if you're picking fresh groceries, shoppers might have a preference for exactly the type and freshness that they want. So they might prefer to trust themselves to do that, right? And that's another reasons they can go into the store. So overall, it's a very omni-channel experience, where from a retailer and a brand side, having both a store presence and an e-commerce presence working in tandem work really well. Beyond that, when we look at online grocery shoppers in general, kind of in the upper right here, I want to start with that stat. 57% of online grocery shoppers stick with their usual in-store retailer. Just the convenience of online grocery and the ease with which you can reorder, I think, are big loyalty drivers for online grocery, and it helps to make shoppers stickier in their routines, essentially. So 57% say they typically stick with their usual in-store retailer, but 37% say they would be likely to try new retailers. So a minority, but still a solid third. Overall, I think the conversation here, the point is that the loyalty dynamic needs to be re-examined for online grocery shopping versus the traditional in-store experience. 80% of online grocery shoppers use digital coupons. So couponing, finding discounts, very important. And of course, the ease with which e-commerce enables comparative shopping and comparisons across retailers is very important to those shoppers. And considering inflation being as high as it is, we expect, Commerce IQ expects to see discounts become more important over time as we head into the holidays, as well as shoppers becoming increasingly discount sensitive. And e-commerce online grocery shoppers are particularly sensitive to couponing and to discounts. 60% of digital coupon users look for digital coupons also while shopping in the store. And again, all about tying into that omni-channel experience that combines the store and combines online shopping. In terms of from a brand or retailer perspective for driving loyalty, this stat is important. 1/3 of online grocery shoppers use a subscription service. And to the extent that you can, leverage, if you're a retailer, to the extent that you can leverage a subscription service, that helps to make shoppers stickier in their routines and to more likely stick with you and become a top of mind destination, or your retailer or brand, if it's more D2C, become a top of mind destination for those products versus buying them somewhere else. If you look at the most popular subscription or delivery service memberships, Amazon Prime dominates 57% membership among online grocery shoppers, but Walmart Plus, despite its relative recent, I mean, it's been out for a few years, but still relatively recent launch compared to Amazon Prime being around for much longer time. 40% of online grocery shoppers shop on Walmart Plus, or have a membership to Walmart Plus. This is especially relevant when you consider the differences between Amazon and Walmart. Amazon, very good at general merchandise, very good at discretionary purchases, doesn't have as much of a lead in grocery. Actually, Walmart in general generally has a higher lead in online grocery, especially when you consider the fact that online grocery shoppers, maybe more of them own a Prime membership, but they might not be using that for groceries, right? A lot of people use Prime for any number of reasons. It doesn't have to be grocery. When it comes to actually online grocery shopping, Walmart has a lead. It's not in here. It's not in this slide, but Walmart has a lead over Amazon, and Walmart Plus is a big part of that. And the appeal there is it's offering, it essentially offers similar in-store pricing online with free shipping if you're a member. So very appealing. And then Instacart kind of coming in third there at 32%. So if we take a look now and look at shopper, kind of pivoting a little bit, and I talked a little bit about shopper loyalty, about sticky routines. If we double down on shopper loyalty and what is compelling shoppers, what will get them to shop your brand or retailer and get them to return, this data is from Oracle's Retail Shopper Outlook Consumer Research 2022. And what they looked at, among other things, was they asked shoppers, where do you find the most compelling offers and products from retailers? 21%, a plurality, the most out of any response, said they find the most compelling offers and products from social media. So social media, again, I feel like might be a bit under leveraged as a source of inspiration for a product. But actually, that is the number one destination or the number one reason where shoppers find compelling offers. So very strong showing there. And then past that via email, in-store promotions. But really the dominant way that shoppers find compelling offers is online, whether it's social media or via email. So e-commerce is really an ideal, e-commerce and digital advertising, whether it's social media or on email campaigns, or even internet ads, which is still coming in at a healthy kind of fourth place there among those factors. That's really the dominant way you want to reach shoppers with new offers, is reaching them online and knowing as much about their purchase history and their interest as possible, and tailoring their new offers, tailoring and matching up your new offers with the shoppers who are most likely to be interested in them, especially if it can be done organically through social media. That's really the best of both worlds. And then we take a look at shopping platforms, how shoppers like to shop. Buy in-store and take home. So in-store shopping, still the most popular. Not a huge surprise there, considering, e-commerce might be growing very rapidly, but in-store shopping still is responsible for the bulk of retail. But buy online and deliver to home, delivery still outpacing buy online and collect in store. But buy online and collect in store has gained over the past 3 years versus buying online and delivering from home has not gained nearly as much as buying online and collecting in store. So again, that buy online pickup in store is a rising star among different e-commerce platforms in terms of how shoppers like to shop. So you can take a look at, again, kind of double clicking on this loyalty question, data taken from the same Oracle research survey. 2 questions, I guess, that are interesting looking at in tandem. One is what makes shoppers most loyal to a retailer, and the other, what makes them shop a different brand. So basically, how do you keep shoppers, and then how do you potentially lose shoppers, and then how do you really want to keep shoppers? And if you want to keep shoppers, you want to keep shoppers happy, it's having a good variety of products. That is like the number one factor out of these factors listed, right? Loyalty programs and point-based programs, those are important as well. I talked a little bit about that already with Amazon Prime and Walmart Plus. Those are important to making shoppers loyal to a retailer. Also worth noting, not in this deck, but if you're familiar with our webinars that we've run in the past, you might have seen this data from Commerce IQ showed, the data was originally from a McKinsey report, and it was that shoppers in 2022 are especially disloyal. They are more disloyal now even than they were at the start of the pandemic. So driving loyalty is especially important. So that's why this data is really important here. It's what makes you most loyal to a retailer. Again, good variety of products. That is the most important factor, having a wide range of products. I also think this is why D2C might have a difficult time growing at its kind of past historical rate in 2023, because low shopper loyalty means that I think they're more likely to kind of congregate in retailer marketplaces where they can shop, price comparison shop multiple brands, and kind of look at that variety at places like Amazon or Walmart or Target. I think D2C might struggle as a result of that for our e-commerce shoppers. So a variety of products and potentially having shoppers shop more marketplace experiences, that might be, a biggest contributor to ongoing loyalty. So that's good if you want to keep your shoppers happy. But if you want to prevent your a little bit of a different question. If you want to prevent your shoppers, for whether as a brand or a retailer, prevent your shoppers from being angry at you and actively seeking out another brand. So kind of these are like the bare bone fundamentals you have to get right. It's all about customer service. Having a bad customer service experience will cause shoppers to look for different brands. That pertains to difficulty in returning an item, having items that are out of stock without appropriate replacements available, or just delays in shipping, and if they have to follow up with the brand, or the retailer on behalf of the brand, that's going to be trouble for the consumer. That will get the consumer to stop shopping your brand pretty much more than any other factor. Speaking about loyalty, this kind of segues into it just a little bit. I want to talk about private label. I think at the beginning of the pandemic, it was kind of widely thought that private label would surge and would do really well during the pandemic. That actually hasn't as much been the case. Private label, I think at least 2022 compared to 2021, this data is taken from Numerator and their private label dashboard. Across most categories, private label use purchasing frequency or just amount, revenue, actually declined among most shoppers. I think a little bit less among lower income shoppers, but most shoppers actually purchase less private label. Where private label sits now, though, especially with rising concerns over inflation, is that I think it's poised to make a big comeback, especially in e-commerce, right? So on the left-hand side here, it might be hard to see, but you have two charts, one on the top, one on the bottom on the left-hand side. And they look at the same data, except the top one looks at brick and mortar share, and the bottom one looks at e-commerce share, specifically share of private label across retailers by retailer. So we're looking at a competitive look across different retailers of how much the private label market do they comprise. So no surprise that Walmart is in first place. They comprise about 20. If you look at that kind of top number of Walmart on the top chart on the left, that 24.9%, that 25%, that means Walmart, just to read it correctly, that means Walmart comprises 25% of the private label brick and mortar market in the US. So a quarter of all sales are at Walmart private labels versus other retailers' private labels. So very impressive. But what I want to, now that you kind of know how to interpret these charts, what I want to focus on is the change over time. And you kind of see a monthly change year over year, June, July, August, in each of these columns, as well as a total 3-month aggregate. And all that data is compared versus that same period a year ago in 2022 versus 2021. You see that when it's indexed, not a whole lot of change for the brick and mortar, right? For the brick and mortar, a lot of 100s there, 103s, 102s. That means like a 2 or 3% shift between one retailer to another, ceding share, gaining share, not huge waves. Looking at the bottom chart, much larger waves, right? I mean, you're looking at Kroger, for instance. You look at its private label share of e-commerce, 62, 59, 69 as an index versus 100. That equates to 40%, 35% declines in e-commerce private label share for the retailer when compared to other retailers in the market selling private label. Those are pretty big losses. And that's because other retailers are making really big moves in e-commerce private label. I mean, H-E-B, Sam's Club, their private label share is up 50% from what it was last year. That's huge. That means that a lot of those organizations, that retailers that are really moving in private label, really making investments, they're potentially anticipating more private label purchasing. I would say they're prepared, maybe better prepared for more private label purchasing moving forward from shoppers really concerned about inflation and price. Speaking about shopper perception of private label, now we're turning to the graphs on the right-hand side. What you have here is different reasons why that shoppers kind of think about private label brands, right? Or the different ways they think about private label brands. The top one on the right hand side is shoppers who say price is more important than brand name. And lower income shoppers in the red are disproportionately more likely to say that is true, especially in the past couple of months. Whereas if you look at shoppers who say that private label quality has improved over time, you actually see lower income shoppers less willing to say that. Okay, great. What does all that mean, right? To me, that tells me that lower income shoppers are more likely to shop private label because they're very much focused on price. It's not even a matter necessarily of saving money, getting a good deal. It's a matter of this is what I can afford. This is just what I'm going to buy. That also, to me, actually explains the second graph on the bottom, which says that lower income shoppers are less likely to say private label quality has improved over time, simply because I'm not sure they're comparing as directly. I think you have higher income shoppers. If they're switching to private label, they're more likely to do so because the quality is better now. Now I'll shop the private label brand. Lower income shoppers are saying, I'm not even paying attention to that. I'm shopping private label because of the price. And that's what I'm really concerned about. I'm not even as much paying attention to the quality because I don't have that luxury with my budget. So I think that's how you interpret that data. That's how I would interpret that data on the right-hand side. Now, taking a look at willingness to share data across a few different metrics. First, generation, right? There is hesitancy for shoppers to share data, but no surprise, younger generations, especially Gen Z, more willing to share data, depending on what information it is or what brand they're sharing it with or how it will personalize their shopping experience. Across all those factors, Gen Z more willing to share their data. Millennials also more willing to share their data. By far, the segment that says they're not willing to share their data at all would be, baby boomers. What that tells me is, yes, maybe some of this is age related versus generation related, and as people get older, their preferences may shift. But I also think it's a bit generational, meaning that as they get older, they'll still be members of Gen Y, millennials or Gen Z, and it might not shift. They'll just stay with them as cohorts of that generation. Meaning, I would expect to see openness to sharing data in exchange for shopping relevance. I would expect that trade-off to continue to evolve moving forward. I think shoppers are going to become more open to sharing their data as the years roll on, as more and more of the shopper base is taken up by the maturing Gen Z generation, for instance. In terms of what they're most willing to share, basic information like email, gender, name, they're most willing to share that. But really personal information like social media, where you can really track kind of the ins and outs of their lives, much less willing to share that. But again, even there, I expect that to shift more towards openness over time. Just based on the generational kind of cohorts and how that's evolving demographically. I do think it's you as a brand, you can help that along by making sure that however you use your data, it's well protected, ideally anonymized in aggregate, not used on a direct one-to-one customer level, maybe just kind of as identified as people being a part of a larger group. And making sure it's used to make the shopping experience more relevant. When that can be done, shoppers are more amenable to sharing their data if they can get something really good out of it. Sustainability has seen a huge surge in importance since 2020. Kind of we're pivoting now to a new topic. I won't spend a ton of time on this, but essentially you take a look at the importance of sustainability when making purchasing decisions. It's most important to Gen Z, also important to millennials, and then kind of drops off for some of the older generations. I also expect it to mean sustainability will become more important over time. The pandemic caused kind of a permanent boost in the importance of both searching for sustainable brands as well as sustainable packaging. And that's especially relevant for e-commerce, right? If you're shopping online, sustainable packaging is becoming an increasingly large issue. It kind of surged around the time, or has slowly surged since the pandemic as well as before. It has just become more and more important. One thing I want to end on here before we wrap it up is forecasts for the coming holiday period. And I think, just broadly speaking, even not even paying attention to this data, if I had to think of a way to frame up expectations for the holiday season, I think it's a bit of a race. And that race is, are shoppers going to run out of money or willingness to spend before the holidays are up, or they just continue spending throughout the entire holidays? Shoppers have churned through a lot of their savings, credit card debt. is rapidly rising as the year progresses. So I think there's a thought that the level of spending that we're seeing is unsustainable, especially if inflation continues to be elevated. Even if it's coming down, it's still elevated. So the thought is, when consumers pull back, will that happen in 2023, or will that happen in the holidays? Or somehow will they avoid it altogether? But right now it's a race, right? If it happens after the holidays, Q4 could be really, really good, especially considering that you're comparing to already strong periods in 2021. If shoppers say, you know what, I'm at my limit, I'm now in more debt than I used to be. I can't spend like I used to, especially on discretionary goods. I got to devote more of my income to the rising cost of household essentials. Then the holidays are going to be weak. But that balance of where exactly that cutoff lies is kind of up for grabs. And you have retailers like Walmart saying, we're not quite sure. You have retailers like Amazon saying, we think it's going to be bad. And then you have, forecasts by the NRF or even MasterCard saying, hey, we think it's going to be good. So it depends on who you look at. They'll tell you different stories about how the holidays will do. But it is true going into the holidays right now, or at least a couple months ago, shoppers are feeling less confident about their finances than they felt last year, especially in the most recent months. You can kind of see a dip for lower income shoppers and middle income shoppers that feel less well off in that chart on the left-hand side. Only upper income shoppers kind of feel similar to how they did last year at this time. They're doing a bit better. And also a lot of shoppers are planning on leveraging buy now, pay later functionality to buy approaching and heading into the holidays. Even more so than opening new credit cards, buy now, pay later is really the thing that is popping up and giving consumers a lot of liquidity and a lot of additional purchase to buy in the short term. Again, there's a worry that is that sustainable, or will that lead to an eventual pullback? And that could be very possible as well. Speaking of pullbacks, even though shoppers are feeling a little bit less financially stable, according to this Morning Consult holiday report for 2022, a majority of shoppers, or at least a plurality of shoppers, are saying they're planning on pulling back. They're planning on spending less across a wide variety of different retail categories heading into the holidays. In terms of categories that particularly pertain to overall holiday spending, 34% plan on spending less, only 17% plan on spending more. So overall, planning on spending less. Also, and this is really interesting, 84% of respondents indicated sales, discounts, and promotional factors go into their gift purchase decisions. So sales and discounts were really important. I expect to see an increase in the importance of sales and discounts. I think shopper preferences back that up, but only 47% of respondents indicated they plan to shop on Black Friday. And that actually matches with some of our own Commerce IQ data as well, which kind of reveals that frequently the best discount days actually might fall on days not on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, but maybe days around then, where you can kind of sneak in maybe incremental demand drivers. And I think shoppers might be getting wise to that fact as well. So that kind of I think that sums up where shoppers are, how they're thinking, how they're planning their budgets ahead of the holidays. That wraps us up for today. That is kind of our look at the state of online shoppers, as well as a little bit of all shoppers in general. And if you like what if you like these insights, if you like what you hear, we typically run these sessions on average. It varies, but on the weeks we do have it, and on average it's like once every 2 weeks. It's always at the same time, and that is noon Eastern on Thursdays and 9 a.m. Pacific. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will present to you later. Thank you.